Okay, topic 6.5 we're going to do more of some of the things, the theorems that we learned in topic 6.4. We're going to use those to work through some examples. We're going to use those same theorems. If you look at the first one, it's two chords. And the theorem was that you take the product of each chord and set them equal. So on this one, you're going to take 2x and multiply it times the other part of the chord, 3x, and set that equal to the other chord, the segments of the other chord. So you're going to multiply those. So on this one, you're going to get 6x squared, x times x, and then 18 times 3, which is 54. Now divide out your 6, and you'll get x squared is equal to 9. And then if you take the square root of 9, that'll tell you what your x is. So x has to be 3. That's how you do chords. Just multiply the two parts. Okay, this one, let's remember when you have secants, it's a little bit different. I'm going to give you some little notes that'll help. It's the whole secant, times the external part. I'll call it the external segment. And then you do the same thing with the other secant. You take the whole secant and you multiply it by the external segment. And just remember, external just means the outside of your secant, the one that's going up to the point. So it's closest to the point. Let's start with the top one. The whole secant here, since they've labeled this one x and that one 3, you would have to add those two. Now I'll just give you a hint. Anytime you're putting a variable with a number to show the entire length, make sure you put it in parentheses. The external part is the 3, the one on the outside part of that secant. On the other secant, the whole secant, if you add the 9 and 4, 13 is the length of the whole secant, but the outside part is just the 4, the outside length. Be sure to distribute your 3. 13 times 4 is 52. Subtract 9 on both sides, so 3x would equal 43. Divide both sides by 3. This is another one that has a repeating decimal. 43 divided by 3. I think I'm going to show you that in the calculator. 43. See how it's a repeating 3? Just like the one we did in earlier with the repeating 6. I think it was in topic 6.4. A repeating 3 is one that you might want to memorize. 1/3, you'll see it a lot. Sometimes when you divide 1 by, well, anytime you divide 1 by 3, you're going to get a repeating 3. So to give the exact answer for this one, it's 14 and 1/3. I would accept 0.3. If you do this one in the calculator and you want to use 0.3, that's fine. But 14 and 1/3 is the exact answer. Example 3 uses a tangent. Let's go ahead and write our little notes to help us. When we were in topic 6.4, you learned that you take the tangent and square it and set it equal to the whole times the external part of the secant. So make sure you're looking at this one correctly. The tangent line is the one that just hits the circle at one point. So on this one it's AM, and AM is 10, so that's what you're going to square. The whole secant means you're going to put the 6 and the x together. Make sure anytime you write your whole thing and you're adding a variable, put it in parentheses. The external part of your secant is 6. Distributing your 6 gives you 6x plus 36. 10 squared is 100. You're going to subtract 36 on both sides. 100 subtract 36 is 64. Divide by your 6. So your x would equal, here's another one that comes out as a mixed number. Dividing 64 by 6 gives you 10 with a repeating 6, and that means 2/3. Let's review that real quick. I'm going to do it in the calculator to show that to you. 64 divided by 6. See how it gives you 10 with a repeating 6? 2/3 is the same thing as a repeating 6. So let's use the exact answer. That one's going to be 10 and 2/3. And that's example 3. Alright, 2 more. Example 4. Find the value of x. This one is like the first one. It's got 2 chords. So you're going to do the product of each piece. So the 5x is multiplied by the x, the pieces of that chord. Set that equal to the product of the other 2 segments, 3 and 25. 5x times x is 5x squared. 3 times 25 is 75. You're going to divide both sides by 5. Your x squared would be 15. If you take the square root of 15, it'll give you a decimal, so let's leave this one in radical form. Let's leave it as a radical. Square root of 15. I think those are the easiest, the chords. When you get into secants, you just have to be careful. Make sure you do the whole times the external, that part of that secant, and then the whole secant times the other external part. That's really how you set these up. You don't have to write that each time. It just might help you, especially in your notes, help you understand why you wrote what you did. The whole secant up here would be adding x and 10. The external part is just the 10. The whole secant in the bottom part here, make sure you're adding, not multiplying. The SL means the length of that secant, which is the 2 8s added together, and then just the external part would be the 8. Be sure to distribute 10x plus 100. 16 times 8 is 128. Subtract 100 on both sides. So 10x would equal 28. Divide by 10. So x would equal 2.8. So that's your answer for example 5. Now it's time to work some in the worksheet. Come see me if you need help.